What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, or YouTube, or all those other places. I appreciate you. Let's get into the topic of this video, which is conversations. How can you be a better conversationalist? How can you have conversations with everybody about almost anything? Man, woman, older, younger, psychology student, sociology student, farmer, it doesn't matter. This is the way to do it. So in the beginning, it's important to understand what is a conversation exactly. Then I'll give you some practical tips about how to have better conversations I'll give you an exercise that you can do on your own, which I use to practice a bunch, not just for conversations, but also for impromptu presentations or speeches that I've given in front of classes and groups of people. And finally, we can break down the formula together to analyze what exactly do you do. So look, a new conversation with a different person, it could be about different topics, you could spring up different questions, but there's the same formula that applies to almost every single topic. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about oil, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about swimming or martial arts. It's the same formula, and we're gonna go through it together. Before we jump too far into it, folks, you know that I'm a very ambitious person and I love doing new projects. I started a podcast so I could put my voice out there for the people who love podcasts. I started a YouTube channel so people could enjoy the visuals. Just recently, I became a writer. I am now on Medium. If you go to Medium and you type in Medium space Daniel Teaches, you can find a few articles there. I've written some about finding meaning, burnout, 2 or 3 different book reviews that I've done. So if you enjoy reading articles, short 2 to 5 minute articles, go to Google, type in Medium space Daniel, and essentially Medium is like YouTube, but imagine instead of videos, there's short written articles. I personally love Medium but this is not like a paid message, I'm just saying this because I mean it. I personally love Medium because I follow a lot of psychologists and counselors and therapists on there, and sometimes I think that reading just does something differently to you as opposed to always hearing it in a podcast form. So I think different forms are good, and there's nothing like reading a 2 to 4 minute article by some psychologist or psychiatrist. So if you like reading articles, especially short ones or even long ones, definitely check out Medium, check out my articles out there. I appreciate you. All right. Without further ado, let's get into the topic of conversations. What is a conversation? If I were to ask you to say, hey, describe a conversation to me, what does that mean? What does that sound like? What would you say? You'd say, well, a conversation has to be held with more than one person. Like, can you talk to yourself? Well, maybe, but then you have to reply. Am I having a conversation right now? You might say, well, this might be more of a monologue, right? I'm talking to nobody, but I'm assuming, not assuming, like I've seen the analytics. I know there's people who listen to this, which is great. And I'm assuming what your responses are going to be, but I don't know with 100% certainty. But let's play it safe. Let's say this is not a conversation, right? Or maybe this is a one-sided conversation, because you could make an argument and say, well, Daniel, people comment, right? People DM me on Instagram. They reach out in different ways. But generally, a conversation is between 2 or more people. What can a conversation be about? It can be about anything. Just like right now, I'm having a conversation about having a conversation. This is a very good episode to listen to if you want to get high beforehand. I'm going to repeat this. I'm having a conversation about having a conversation. Right? But look, so we know that a conversation happens between at least 2 or more people. It can be about anything. It's the way that we exchange information about something. Now, sometimes we go back and forth. Sometimes there's one person exchanging information, which is more direct. This is more, hey, this is what happened to me. This is an article that I read on Medium. Did you see the fights on the weekend? And then the other person reciprocates and they accept that, right? And they'll reply with something like, tell me about your day, or I'm sorry that you felt that way, or yes, I saw the fights, or yes, I read Daniel how would I say that? I read Daniel's articles on Medium. They were great. So it's an exchange of information. Think of it like that. Sometimes we're teaching, sometimes we're sharing, sometimes we're listening. And the question here becomes, well, look, back in the day, we thought one of the worst things you could do to an individual is you take away all their options, right? You say, look, you have to eat pasta every single night. It has to be this specific pasta made in this specific way, right? And we thought that was terrible. The more autonomy we have, the better. So what did we do? We said, you know what? You can cook anything you want. What do you want to do? Turns out that wasn't that much better. Because now there's a lot of stress, man. Like, you've got a lot of options. Sometimes saying you can cook whatever you want can be just as anxiety provoking as saying you can only cook pasta. One thing that studies have found, the best thing you could do is make a very small selection and have people choose out of that. So next time you're talking to your girlfriend, you're saying, hey, look, where do you want to go for dinner? And she says, I don't know. And you guys spend 20 minutes trying to decide. Go, look, what would you prefer? Popeye's chicken, McDonald's, or that pizza place that just opened up downtown? What you're doing is you're giving her the options, but you've narrowed it down. You're saying, look, I'd love any of those three. Which of those three do you like? It makes it easier for her to look at what the options are. And it also makes it easier for the both of you so you can get the hell out of there so you can get some food in your stomach. Does that make sense? So going back to this conversation idea is we're exchanging information. That's what's happening. So the question is, right, what do we talk about? There's so many things to talk about, right? Common things are going to come up like, hey, how are you? People are going to ask you about yourself. So tell me about yourself. What do you enjoy doing? Are you in school? Do you work, right? These are very common things that come up. And the important thing to note here in conversations, again, look, I'm going to really oversimplify this because if I really talk about this topic, this can go on for 5 to 10 hours because there's so many things to take into account in terms of who you're talking to, what the environment is. Are you talking to a guy your age at a party? Are you talking to a man your father's age who happens to be a professor? Are you talking to a police officer? So all these things factor in, not to mention culturally. But to keep it very, very, very simple, right? You meet John. Right? John or Brad or Chad or just some regular dude at a park, right? These are things that you could talk about with almost anybody anywhere. Ready? The first one is current events. Anything that's going on right now. Hey man, did you hear about those gas prices going up? Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Huh? What are your thoughts about that? Yeah. Hey, did you hear about that thing that happened in our city? Like cars have been getting jacked left and right. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, huh? You can talk about the weather. Now, an easy one is you can talk about things that you can both understand and both relate to, right? Because if you only have knowledge about, let's say, fishing and they don't, well, you got to work a little bit extra to convey the message. But if you're both aware of something, it becomes a lot easier, right? It's a lot easier to talk to someone about a movie that you've both seen than about a movie that only one of you has seen. They can understand you better, thus you can connect better, thus you can have better conversations, right? Because it's one thing to converse, it's another thing to connect. And connect, I would say, it's a more deeper level of conversing with an individual. So a very easy thing to do is, like I said, current events. Another one is to do is what is around you. If I am sitting in a classroom and there's a young lady in front of me, I might make a comment about being back after COVID. I might make a comment about the book that's on her desk. I might make a comment about this desk, the classroom, the lights, the professor, what she's wearing, what I'm wearing. So something that's in front of us. So immediately I'm taking out the guesswork of, has she seen that movie? You know, does she know what that song is? Does she know who that artist is? So immediately it's very easy to be on the same boat on one thing. So that's a very easy thing to do. Eventually you get to a point where now you're saying, you know what? Those are good baby steps, right? And that could be as simple as observe and call out. Observe and call out. I'm literally sitting here and on my desk, there's a piece of paper. This is an interesting piece of paper. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about push and pull factors for immigrants? What are push and pull factors? So essentially these are factors that will push you out of your country, like war, like things that make you feel unsafe, financial unreliability, and things that will pull you towards another country. So what did I just do? I literally just looked at something on my desk, I observed it, and I started talking about it. Now, mind you, this is going to be hard in the beginning because you're not used to it, and it's going to be hard if there's a stranger, and God forbid that stranger is the sex that you're attracted to and they're good looking. Like, good luck, dude. Good luck. Then it's going to be tougher, right? Maybe you're a heterosexual man, you're talking to another dude, it's easy to converse. But if you have a very good looking lady in front of you, I could understand why that'd be extra anxiety inducing, right? Doing the kind of same thing. But it's really that simple. Simple does not mean easy. Simple just means straightforward. You look, you observe, you say it out loud. Easier said than done. I can say it like that. But when you're in the moment, you're going to know what to do. But there's going to be parts of you like, well, what if they don't hear me? What if she doesn't care? What if someone else hears? What if I get rejected? Those are all possible. Okay? And then it just goes back to mindset. It goes back to self-esteem. It goes back to optimism. You gotta have the right mindset to understand and go, look, I am taking a chance, but it's worth it. You gotta have good self-esteem to go, look, if she doesn't want to talk, that's not because I'm a loser. That might just be because she's tired. Or that must be because she has a headache or she's not in the mood to talk. It's not about me. And finally, optimism. You got to understand that if you do get shut down, it's not like, well, I'm never going to talk to anyone ever again. It's just this one didn't work, but I'm sure the next one will be better. Gotcha? So mindset, which includes self-esteem and includes optimism. Now, sometimes you might sit there and go, well, Daniel, I literally don't know what to talk about. And no, I don't just want to talk about like my stupid pencil on my desk. Here's an exercise that I would literally do to make myself a better speaker, and an exercise that I did when I was 14 or 15. We did this thing in our grade. I think it was grade 8. I was around 14 years old, and we got all these kids together, right? Maybe 70, 80 kids in this room. And we had this fishbowl, and in this fishbowl there were a bunch of these small pieces of paper, scrap pieces of paper, and they had things on them. Like they had something written on them like orange, headphones, towel, goggles. And I literally remember, this is crazy, I remember some kid got a folding chair. And I remember I got pizza, either cheese pizza or pepperoni pizza. And you had no idea what you were going to talk about. And you had 60 seconds to talk about that thing. So they would start calling up names. They called up my name. I went over there, put my hand in the fishbowl, took it out. I still remember it. It was pizza. I'm like, okay. I go up there and I literally just started talking about pizza. Now, it did several things. One, it helps reduce anxiety because you're in front of a presentation, you're in front of a crowd, and practicing over time makes you more comfortable in front of a crowd. Two, it's not a prepared speech. I had no idea what I was going to talk about. So it gets you to think on your feet. Now, I'm going to do this exercise right in front of you, and you're going to notice a formula that I do every single time when I'm talking about something, and you can use this formula to talk about almost anything. Chances are you already do this. You've just never consciously thought about it. You do this all the time, right? But it just takes some schmuck like me to come along and make this video, because I had someone reach out on Instagram recently, say, Daniel, when I want to talk to people, I just blank out. Like I just don't know what to talk about. Or if something comes up, like I don't know how to add to the conversation. Ready? So we're going to play a game. I'm going to say the first word that comes to mind. Then I'm going to talk about that word for about 45 to 60 seconds. Then I'm going to switch that word, okay? I'm going to do this 3 times. This is not pre-planned. I have no idea what I'm going to say. And this is an example of just thinking in the spot, impromptu, someone asks me something. Okay, ready? All right, first word that comes to mind, bananas. So what is a banana exactly? A banana is a fruit, and it's a yellow fruit, and it's kind of shaped, it's almost shaped like the letter C. Like some bananas can be more curvier than others. You've got bigger ones, you've got smaller ones. There are different shapes and sizes. Now, whenever I think about bananas, I don't know about you, I always think about potassium. When I was younger, I would go swimming, and sometimes I would get these like muscle cramps, and people would tell me, Daniel, drink water and have potassium. One of the easiest ways to get potassium is either through supplements or through eating bananas. So what I ended up doing in my workout regimes was I had bananas almost all the time. They're easy to carry around. You can put it in your backpack. The thing that I love about bananas is that they're not very heavy, right? It's not like you're eating lots of rice. You're not eating a burger. It's light. You can eat it in terms of like before the peeling. Like you don't have to worry too much about throwing it in your backpack and opening up. You just have to be careful that you don't smush it. The taste is a little bland, but you know, it's not the sweetest, it's not the sexiest thing that you're going to taste, but it gets the job done. So that's what's important. Okay, next word, island. I think an island is very interesting, right? Because whenever we talk about island, what do you think about? The first thing I think about is a plot of land that's disconnected from other plots of land, right? And then what else do you think about? Well, I have this like screensaver. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see my desktop. It's this beautiful tropical island. I don't know where, but when I think about island, I think about beach and sand, and I think about when the sun's hitting you right in the eyes and you've got your eyes closed, and maybe it's a resort, so maybe they're bringing you mojitos and margaritas and senoritas and all the itas you can think of, and God, you're just so happy, and the sun is warm and the water's clear and people are happy, and you hear maybe seagulls in the air, and you're drinking those cool drinks and you feel great. And the island kind of has this intimacy in the sense of it's really like close and compact, but you're far away from everything else. So in a sense, it almost feels like you're in a different world, but you're not. You're on an island, right? So like, where do people go? I mean, what are some famous islands around the world? I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know that there must be lots that are like private islands. Like people who are really rich, they own their own islands. Okay, next topic, paintings. Paintings are weird, man, because what is a painting? Like if I draw a smiley face on a piece of paper, okay, I'm gonna stop it there. You understand where I'm going with this, right? What was the pattern that I did with all of them? Did you notice it? The very first thing that I did was I laid out a definition, whether it was a banana, whether it was an island, whether it was a painting. Here's the thing, the definition doesn't even have to be objectively true. It just has to be subjectively true in terms of, this is what I think when I see a banana. This is what I think when I see an island. This is what I think when we're talking about a painting, right? And then at least this way, I can try to convey the message. Remember what I said earlier about exchanging information? That me and you are both seeing the same thing. Now, when I explain that, there's several things I like to do, right? The first thing I like to do is now, because I practice this a lot, this comes off very natural to me. But if you really want to break it down, I look at either the 5 senses and I look at application. Those are the easiest way to look at it. So if you remember with the banana, I talked about how it tastes. I talked about it's a little soft to touch. I talked about visually, like it's yellow and whatnot. I talked about the practicality aspects, you know, how I've used it, my relationship with the banana. This sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, it works, right? My workout regimes, how I put it in the backpack before swimming. Again, the island. What did I do? Back to the senses. What I hear, the seagulls. What I'd feel, the warm sand on my feet and the sun in my face and drinking those cool drinks and being relaxed and what it would be like. And I'm really creating this kind of visualization. Same thing with the painting. So what I do is I start off with the definition, right? This is what it means, or at least this is what it means to me. Then I start immediately backing it up with either those 5 senses to kind of bring it to life as much as I can, to recreate this image from my brain and put it out here, and talk about the practical aspects, right? Because it's like, dude, who gives a crap about a banana, right? It's like, I do, and you should too. Here's why. And then you give the practical aspects, right? Hey man, this is why it matters. You know, if you're into working out, like it's awesome, it's light. So whenever you want to look at having a conversation with someone, there's a lot of different avenues you could take. And the biggest thing that I think holds people back, I really think it's anxiety. I think people worry about saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. I think people worry about making mistakes, saying the wrong word. Do you know what else people worry about a lot? The thing that I just did. I just paused. And I know I get excited, so I start speaking faster, but if there's 2 things that people really don't like inherently, is one, being wrong, saying the wrong answer, which I said earlier, which is incorrect because it's about what it looks subjectively to you. And secondly, feeling like you don't have an answer. Feeling like it's bad to stop talking. I've noticed this with a lot of people. Maybe you notice this in yourself. When you're talking about a subject, maybe you speak extra fast. Why do you speak extra fast? It's as if you're maybe saying a mistake, but you're hoping someone doesn't catch the mistake, so you speed up your words. That's interesting, isn't it? So the biggest thing to having conversations with people, number one, it really is mindset. It really is anxiety. Once you can get past that, again, easier said than done, then you can look at, well, Dana, what do I talk about now? Again, surroundings, environment, current news, and then that exercise that I gave you, dude, I practiced that so many times with different topics. I mean, anything, dude. Jay-Z, the number 63, boxes, John Cena, gloves, goggles, violins, like just 60 seconds talk, this 60 seconds talk, and then even record yourself and notice abnormal things. Was I talking too fast? Was I talking too slow? What did I say when I didn't know anything about that subject? These are really important, and I think these make you more self-aware, and once you practice this enough, it can literally be any topic. Crowbar. You know what's interesting about crowbar? Whenever I think about bad dudes in an alley, I always imagine them carrying a crowbar. And it has to be like gray or dark blue. Like I can't imagine someone with like a pink crowbar. Unless it's for like this one of these weird sexy rap videos. Like that's the only way. But it actually be a plastic. So, right, it just becomes so easy. It becomes so easy. I literally walked into class once. First day of school. And there was this girl sitting there. She was the first person there. And I don't remember what I said exactly, but I just looked at her and I go, man, I love Eggs Benedict. And she looked at me all confused, like with like the do I know you face. And I said, what do you think of Eggs Bennies? Like, do you know what they are? Now, I took a risk, right? I don't know that she knows what Eggs Benedicts are, but she nodded her head. And so then I just went with it. I said, yeah, I'm a really big fan of them. Like, I love how they taste. I started describing it. I think I spoke about salmon and avocado as well. So you can see like I'm that living embodiment. And like this isn't just me patting myself on the back, but this is me saying in that anecdote, I just told you everything that I talked about earlier, right? I had the open mindset, the courage to fight the anxiety and talk to a stranger. I was optimistic in that I thought it was going to go well, but even if it didn't, the next one hopefully would. I had a decent amount of self-esteem in the sense of if she wouldn't have talked to me, it was 8:30, I would be like, she's probably just tired, right? And I started talking about Eggs Benedict at 8:25 a.m. in a philosophy class about Plato. And it worked, you know? I mean, depends what you mean by work. We just had a great conversation. So yeah, give that a go. Give that a go and have fun and give it a try. And different things will be harder for different people. But I think like the anxiety one is going to be tough for a lot of people to overcome. Just, it doesn't matter what you say, but I think beginning to verbalize your thoughts with a complete stranger, I think that'll be the hardest one. And my recommendation is start off with the least intimidating people. So if you're a guy and you're not super attractive and you feel very intimidated talking to very good looking young women, talk to dudes first. You know, talk to them about something that you like. Maybe you're big into fishing. You see guys wearing a fishing shirt. Go over, talk to another dude about fishing. You know, the odds are more in your favor, if you will. So you can kind of mess around with probabilities, and it really is practice. It really is one of those things. You know, I've given you the formula. I've told you what you need to do and the things that are going to mess with you psychologically, but as long as you're aware, like that's all this is meant to do. Watching this video on YouTube or listening to this podcast, this episode, it's not going to make you a conversationalist, but it's going to make you self-aware of the things that I've done to make myself one and the things that you could do in theory if you follow the steps. Again, easier said than done, but if you do follow them, I would feel very confident that you could go around talking to almost anybody about almost anything, given the stuff that I've given you. This has been another episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this topic, let me know. DM me on Instagram. Reach out to me. If there's any specific topics that you want me to cover, I would love to do new things. I would love to try different talks. I hope you enjoyed. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Have a safe and relaxing rest of your day, and take care of yourselves, folks. Bye-bye.